What's up, everyone? Episode 101 coming at you Tuesday night. Regular time, as not as always, but regular time tonight. This is your host, Graham Powell, co host Bradley Brown. Say what's up, Brad.
What's happening?
Lots of things, and we'll get to that in a bit. First, quick shout out to our sponsor, Rhino Races. Check out my shirt here. Rhino Races is a virtual race series that offers 5 different races: a 5K, 10K, half marathon, a marathon, and the Rhino Ultra. Sign up for one or all 5 of their races at rhinoraces.com. Run your race at your convenience. Track it with your fitness app of choice. Screenshot your results as proof of completion. Once your results are verified by Rhino Races staff, after you submit them under the submit results section at rhinoraces.com, by the way. Once you do that and your results are verified by Rhino Races staff, your award will be shipped to you by mail. Also, check out their gear section for t-shirts, wristbands, decals, and more. That's rhinoraces.com. Rhino Races is the premier virtual running series, and you can find us, Shoe Booty Sports, on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter at Shoe Booty Sports. Let's start with the Razorback game, get that out of the way. I will say I only caught the very end of it. I didn't even try to find it on the radio, really. I was coming back from Jonesboro, so a good hour and a half or so from Cabot. So not the local sports station up there. I took a split second to try to find it, and after about a minute or so, I was like, I'm good. I know how this is gonna go. So I come back, I check my phone on the way as I'm getting close to home. I'm like, yeah, going about as expected. So I get home and I turn on the game, and I saw KJ throw a nice touchdown pass. And that was pretty much it. That was the highlight. I did like the uniform combo. I like the white helmet with the red hog, the red jersey. It was a sharp look to play there in Dallas. But playing A&M, A&M has won 11 of the last 12, I believe it is, against Arkansas.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, it didn't feel like that long ago when Petrino was beating A&M 3 times in a row, but I guess it was. Uh, I guess I blocked out all those 11 games over the last 12 years. But yeah, the game went about like I thought it would. Give me your take on it because all I saw was the end and people's comments, which sounded more or less like the same. The big takeaway for me was I saw that the penalties had been cut down significantly. When I tuned in, which was toward the end of the game, Arkansas had no penalties. So I got to give them credit there, but that's about the only positive thing I can say.
yeah. I didn't get to watch the whole game. I picked up on it in the second half. I was out at the Pinnacle Golf Course watching the LPGA event over the weekend. I was lucky enough to get some tickets to an all-inclusive area, free booze and food, and they had some TVs there, so we got to watch the game. Um, yeah, it was kind of what I thought it was going to be. I'm kind of surprised we kept it within 12 points. Um, it's just the lack of imagination with the play calling is what really got me. Just I don't get it, man. I don't know what Dan's thinking most of the time, but I don't think he's thinking the right thing. Um,
You cut out there a
yeah,
little bit. I think you said lack
I
of
guess
imagination. Is that what you said?
yeah, Dan's lack of imagination with the play calling. Uh, yeah, I don't know if he's just getting these calls from a magic 8 ball or what, but they're all terrible. Um, yeah, disappointed to say the least. Like, at least we, weren't heavily penalized, but then again, yeah, we couldn't really move the ball anyways. So kind of how I thought it would go. Luckily, we only kept them, within 12. So, but
You
yeah,
say you say that it was like 34-16 or something. I think it was when I actually tuned in. Or no, it was a 2 score game and it felt like a 2 score game the whole way.
yeah,
And well, I
yeah,
guess it was at 12 points. But it just felt like it I mean, Arkansas wasn't anywhere close, but it's like you said. I guess that's a good thing. I mean, this is where we're at. We're looking at it and saying, well, at least they didn't get beat by more than 12. Like that's where we've gotten.
we're wasting KJ. We're wasting him, man.
We are. This is an unfortunate year. I almost wish he would have. Now, I don't think he's a starter at the next level. I don't think maybe he makes an NFL roster. I see him more of like a practice squad quarterback. I don't think he's I don't think he's accurate enough or reads the defense quick enough to play at the next level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that.
Because that's
But
KJ's thing. He at Arkansas, and that's why he's successful. Is he processes the play. He reads the
yeah,
whole play, hangs on the ball longer than he should, and makes the right decision. And he could get away with that these last 2 years. Has not been able to get away with it this year. We've covered this. The line's not good. It's I almost hate that he came back, but then again, where are you going to go? And also, imagine how bad we would be without him. Now, Jacoby Criswell in the drive or whatever or two I saw him looked good. I mean, he looked like a player.
yeah,
I knew he could play at Morrilton, led them to a state championship, I believe. And I believe that's when I was either toward the end of my reporting career or I was just out of it and I was still kind of keeping tabs on it. I remember him as a player, like he was a big time recruit coming out of Arkansas, but you never know how that pans out. Some have worked out, some haven't. He looked good from what I saw, but I don't think anybody would look good on that offense. It's yeah, can't protect the quarterback. I didn't see much of the. All I saw was the stats. They could do nothing on the ground. Made no difference with Rocket Sanders being back. All that happened was his average or dropped significantly.
yeah. He had a good screen pass that went for like 30 yards or something like that. That was about the only highlight I've seen for Rocket.
Yeah, I didn't even see that, and I didn't care to look at any of the highlights. My favorite thing out of it, though, I am here for all of the memes about having a 6'3", 250-pound quarterback lining up in the shotgun, and just the I've seen the Impractical Jokers one, the one with Ben Affleck with a cigarette and just the heavy side. That's my favorite.
Yeah,
Genuinely enjoyed that. I am liking the memes coming out of it. I didn't hear what Pittman had to say or anything after. I don't care to. Uh, Great guy. Nothing against him, but you guys got beat again. It went like I thought it would. I don't need to know why it happened because I could have told you that essentially it was going to go down that way before the game itself. So I don't need to hear anything after the fact. He'll be back another year. I don't. If they don't win another game, I think he'll be back another year. This is Juracek's guy, and they'll give him another shot and say, I mean, get it right this year. We're going to look somewhere else. And I don't know that he's going to be able to right the ship uh, next year either. That remains to be seen. A lot would have to happen between now and then, but this is going to be a rough year. I think the only game Arkansas will be favored in is that one against the non-conference opponent. Can't even remember who it was.
what I mean, what about Mississippi State? You think will be favoring that one?
I don't think so. Now, I mean they played. Now we played LSU tight. We could play Ole Miss. I would not be surprised if the Ole Miss game was competitive.
I wouldn't be either, but then again, I wouldn't be surprised if we lost by 50 points.
I think Ole Miss drops at least 40 on us with that
Yeah,
offense. I think they drop at least 40 on us, and I don't know that we can match that. I think that Ole Miss's defense is good enough to where they're going to be able to get pressure on KJ. And as good as KJ can be, KJ's not a guy he's not his best when you're asking him to throw it 40 and 50 times a game. He's not that quarterback. He's going to have 3 interceptions if you ask him to throw it 50 times a game, especially with that offensive line. What makes KJ a good player is his threat to run. It's that option to run, it's that threat to run. That's what gets receivers open. And if they know that he's just going to have to drop back and pass, they're in trouble. Now, I mean, he could
yeah,
continue to move the chains by running, but I mean, at some point you're going to have to throw it, and especially if you can't get the running game going, it's setting him up to fail. It's setting your quarterback up to fail. It's like you said, we're kind of wasting this season. You had high hopes for KJ and this team coming into the season. I had them as a 9-win team. That's with the bowl game. That's not the regular season. That was winning the bowl game. Because KJ has shown he can do that these last 2 years, but I don't see him getting to a bowl game. I see one other win on the schedule. Maybe they surprise somebody and beat like a Mississippi State or even a Missouri, but I don't see them beating Missouri. I
Yeah,
think it's
be interesting to see how their game turns out this weekend at home against LSU. So that'll probably be a fun one to watch.
the Missouri. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, Missouri. I mean, they're 5-0. I mean, they haven't had a tough schedule by any means to this point, but they've won 5 games. This is the test though. This is a real test. You're gonna have an LSU team that's probably a little pissed off coming into this week. And
a bit.
that was a great game, by the way. I did watch that whole game, the LSU Ole Miss game. Very
Yeah, that
entertaining.
was a fun one.
Very entertaining. The Ole Miss fan student on the goalpost after the game, climbing up there and then doing the flip off that did not land cleanly, but he seemed just fine.
Yeah,
I'm guessing he wasn't completely sober for that, which I would hope not, because then it would just
probably wasn't any sober. It was
probably. I mean,
not one bit.
I'll give him like a little bit just because he was able to. Yeah, yeah, you're probably right. Um, if
He,
anything, it
he still
was
had still had the right amount of motor skills to get himself on top of the post and somewhat balance.
yeah, and then
So
kissing the goalpost as he was straddling it up there as he climbed it.
yeah,
That was a fun part of the post game. The guy will live in infamy now on the internet, but it playfully so. Nothing to be ashamed about. I would think maybe the parents aren't so proud, but yeah, I'm glad that camera phones weren't really a thing when we were around, like that age. It's
very glad.
yeah, I'm very pleased with that. And social media was a thing, but it was just starting when we were in
Yeah,
college, and you couldn't do stuff like that, like upload video like right away and things like that. We had Facebook, and that was kind of it. And then Twitter came along a little. It was more so Twitter got big. I like toward the end of college, from my recollection. But getting off topic now, that was the most entertaining game. What did you? What other games stood out to you? Because that was really the most memorable for me. Just the LSU Ole Miss game.
yeah. Uh, I don't know. The one that comes to mind was the USC Colorado game. Just because I had USC to cover the spread, and they had it covered going into the fourth quarter, and then somehow let Colorado score like 21 unanswered points. So thanks USC for losing me my money.
Well, it's a Lincoln
Appreciate
Riley
it.
coach team. It's not going to be the most defensively sound team, but they're going to be very sound on offense. Caleb Williams, Shadur Sanders put on a clinic as far as statistics go. Caleb Williams threw 6 touchdown passes. The highlight I saw of him, rolling left and then throwing just like twisting his body and throwing it and just throwing it on a dart. Beautiful throw. But Peter King made a good point or this week too. I guess it was Monday, yesterday. You look at the two. You look at Caleb Williams, Shador Sanders, and he was really praising Shador Sanders. It Shador Sanders has very few, very little time to make his throws. Caleb Williams had about 7.5, 10 seconds to make that throw. He scrambled a little bit and made the throw. Caleb Williams is behind a much better offensive line and just on a much better team than Shador Sanders is. So it makes what Sanders did more impressive. But yeah, statistically, looking at those numbers, very impressive by those two, Sanders and Caleb Williams. You expect that from Caleb Williams, but Shador Sanders is. You can't say he's back in the Heisman mix, but statistically, it's gonna be something to pay attention to as the season progresses, especially if Colorado can start winning some games again. I mean, you'll quickly
Yeah.
forget about these losses because it's still pretty early in the season. If they put on a
Mhm.
clinic toward the end, I don't know. He might make a trip to New York. We'll see.
I don't think he does, but yeah, we'll see.
I don't think he does either, but yeah, I mean, it's something to think. I mean, his numbers are going to be very good. I would think. I don't know. They played the two toughest opponents they're going to play, in that conference, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, they got them out of the way. I mean, his numbers are going to explode, and he did that against USC, and that was a big, that's a big time game. A lot of people tuned into that. I did not because it was an early game and I was on the road. But I mean, I paid attention to the statistics,
Yeah.
and numbers
Which
don't lie.
What's the thing about Notre Dame squeaking out another one this weekend at Duke?
I wasn't surprised. It was the score wise, it was very comparable to last week, right? Just
Yeah.
they were on the winning side of it. I'm not sold on Duke. Duke is they're a good team, but Clemson should have beaten them. There were two or three times Clemson had the ball inside the 10 in their game and should have scored and
Yeah.
gave it away. That was as awful of a football game as I've ever seen a Dabo Sweeney coach team. And I mean, he said that in the press. Like, I've never been a part of anything like that. That was bad. I mean, that was an atrocious showing from Clemson. So Duke should have really lost that game, but they didn't. They won. And I mean, Notre Dame's a good team, not a great team, but a good team. I don't think there's a great team in college football this year. I mean,
No.
Georgia's had a scare. Georgia's not near as dominant.
No. The
I
hell
don't
they
think
got
that.
scared by Auburn.
Yeah, and Hugh Freeze can coach though. I mean, we've seen that he outcoached our Sam Pittman and the Razorbacks last year while he was at Liberty en route to
At
that one.
Liberty. Yeah.
So you knew he could. You know what he can do. You know what he's going to do with that. Auburn's players. They're going to be competitive, and they're only going to get better as long as he can stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
Future's probably looking bright at Auburn. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Notre Dame's a good team. Not a great team. I think not having a great team in college football is good for college football, though. I think it makes things more interesting. So I'm more intrigued that there's not a dominant Georgia or a dominant Alabama. I'm more interested. I'm more interested when the playoff rolls around. I'm not going to be able to look and say, all right, these two SEC teams are going to win and then meet in the championship game or
Yeah.
whatever it is. I'd be interested to see how this shakes up. How this shakes up. You know, as we progress through the season. I saw Michigan got it done, and typical Michigan fashion, I think they scored 45 points. They got out of the 30s, but it was still like I still looked like it's still a Michigan score.
Yeah.
Michigan Big Ten score. All right, anything else from college football weekend?
No, not that I can think of.
Well, before we jump to basketball and some big news and trades there, tell us about the LPGA event. Where was it? How was it, etc. Give us a rundown.
The LPGA event this weekend was at Pinnacle Golf Club, there in Rogers. It's in a pretty bougie part. Yeah, it was nice. I think all 3 days you had great weather. Got a little warm over the weekend. But yeah, it was fun. There's always a pretty good showing out there. You pretty much have free access to the course. Some of it is roped off, but it's usually a pretty good time. And they have lots of stuff, for the kids to do if you bring them along as well.
Did you bring yours
I
along?
Yeah, I brought all mine along. Yeah, every single non one of them.
There
So,
you go.
but yeah, it was a good time. I strongly suggest if you have the opportunity to go do it. Tickets are usually pretty cheap. Um, I always have friends that have access to free tickets, so I get to luck out each year. So, yeah, pretty good time. Highly suggest it.
I'll say, wow, that's nice. I don't have access to free tickets. I'm not one of those friends, by the way. But all right, touched up on some golf. Haven't done that in a while, so good job there, Brad. Now let's talk a little. Let's talk a little hoops. We're getting closer to basketball season, which, as Razorback fans, we're looking forward to at this point because football is all but lost. I'll be watching Saturday night at. Is it in Fayetteville, or is it in Oxford?
Oh, it's in Oxford.
Okay, 6:30 game. By the way, before we jump to basketball, we'll do this real quick. Score prediction: Arkansas Ole Miss Saturday. Football, we're talking about everyone. Primetime
Uh,
game.
45-21, Ole Miss.
I was like, you don't even have to say. We know, but yeah, I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna go 48. I'm gonna go 48 31. 48-31 Rebels. I feel semi good about that. That's a good score prediction from you, but I almost went in the 50s, but I was like,
Yeah.
they'll get just under that, I think. All right, 48-31 Rebels. Okay. Basketball, NBA, they've had their media days now or already. What'd you think of Jimmy Butler's emo style? Man, he that was on point, wasn't it? And I think he had a long black
If,
coat and combat boots.
if it was emo style, I didn't know what he was going for, emo or cross dresser.
It
Didn't
was
didn't know.
dude, that was 2007, that was 2008 AF. Like I mean, you look in a high school yearbook, yeah, that's what you see is what Jimmy
Yeah.
Butler was dressed as. That was perfect. Little but very comical. Loved it. He's kind of done that. I saw what he did last year too, a picture of it, and it was not that, but it was. I like this one too. It shows Jimmy Butler's got some personality. But and I saw AD Anthony Davis's comments about the Nuggets talking after winning a championship and saying that they're keeping receipts or whatever he said. I like I think the Lakers are going to be better. I don't remember who they signed that I liked. It was a month or two ago now. I don't remember, but I remember thinking like, okay, I think the Lakers are going to be a little bit better,
Yeah.
but they're not going to be as good as the Nuggets. I mean, come on. You can keep all the receipts you want. That Denver team is still as good as or is better than anybody in the West. The East, they are doing everything they can to be on that level, and a couple of teams I think are at least pretty close. The big news: Dame Lillard going to the Bucks. Bucks traded Drew Holiday and I think Grayson Allen too, some other players, and it was a package deal. Um, like Drew Holiday didn't end up in Portland, ended up in Boston, ended up getting sent to Boston. So I think Boston's better now. Now you're missing Robert Williams. Like you're not going to have a big, that can match up with like an Embiid or a big man down low. But he's been hurt on and off too. He's had trouble staying healthy. You've got three legitimate guys in Boston that can go off on any given night. Tatum, Jalen Brown, and Drew Holiday. I really like what the Celtics have done, and I like this move by the Bucks. I liked the Bucks as is because their thing they just couldn't stay healthy. Chris Middleton couldn't stay healthy, but I mean Dame is a game changer. I like Drew Holiday, but yeah, I like this move by the Bucks. Are they up there with the Nuggets now? Can they beat the Nuggets with this team?
No.
No. If those guys can stay, if Chris Middleton can stay healthy and Giannis, I mean, I think they're right up there. Now we'll see. I would still take Denver, I think, just because Jamal Murray, uh, kind of being the X factor, not really the X factor, but is a little bit along with just the role players. It's a good matchup though, if we'll see it. If we actually see that, that would be. But we are way off from that. It's been interesting. Uh, these moves, I like those two teams in the East though. I like Milwaukee. I like Boston. I still very much like Denver in the West. I like them as my favorites. To win the whole thing. Early favorites to win the whole thing. Way early. But the Lakers have gotten better, and I don't know, it's going to be fun. And we're not that far off. We're essentially just over a few weeks away now from the NBA tipping off. So going to be fun to see. I don't know when college basketball starts, but I do look forward to that, considering how the football season has gone.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
looking forward to that. Okay, MLB playoffs have gotten underway tonight. I will tune in when the World Series starts, or if I notice there's a competitive
Same.
game, elimination game going. I'll keep an eye on some of the scores. Some of the jerseys have looked cool from just what I've seen today. Like Minnesota's, like the Twins, the Twin City jerseys. That look pretty dope. I like that. But the kind of usual teams lately have been in it, that are still in it. See, the Phillies are in it. Um, I mean Miami. They're playing the Marlins right now, up 3-0, top of the seventh. Kind of your usual teams.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick World Series pick and then win it all. Who you got? Or do you know enough about the teams that are in it to make a
Man,
educated prediction
I
there?
am I'm just pulling for the Orioles. All all or nothing, man.
Why? Just because you're not used to seeing
Just
them
because they're
there?
hardly ever good, and they are good this year.
That's true. I can respect and get that. I
And they
kind
finally,
of am too. Is at least coming out of the American League. I don't care who wins it. My car. This has been a
yeah,
season I've not paid very much attention to because my team has been terrible. Like it's
yep,
weird seeing the St. Louis Cardinals at the bottom of the Central. Even in their down years, they're third. You know, to see them at the very bottom, one of the worst teams in the league, it's embarrassing. Heads need to roll. They're in St.
yep.
Louis, and they will soon. That fan base won't put up with this for long. So right the ship in a hurry now. But
Please.
yeah, so yes. You're are you going with Baltimore more, or that's just who you're pulling for?
That is who I'm pulling for.
All right, I'm gonna go Braves Astros, and I got the Braves winning in six. I'm gonna go the safe
Yeah,
six.
yeah. Definitely not rooting for the Astros at any capacity. So,
Definitely not either. I've never pulled for the Braves. I've always held it against them that
yeah,
they were the team of the 90s. You always could, like, who you didn't know exactly who was going to come out of the American League, but you knew the Braves were going to be there from the National League, and you knew the Braves were always going to lose because they
yeah.
lost every year except for that one year. What was it, 97, 96, 97, where they beat Cleveland?
Yeah.
I mean, they got one. They finally got one, and it was about time with that pitching staff. That probably the best rotation ever, at least since I've been alive, by far. Uh, Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz. But yeah, the Braves finally got one. I've always kind of held that against them because you knew that they were going to be the team from the National League to get there and lose. I remember the Blue Jays beating them, the Twins. I mean, just on and on. The Kirby Puckett years, the Joe Carter years. That's still my favorite memory, probably baseball memory, was Joe Carter hitting a walk off against Atlanta to beat the Braves in 93, 4, something like that. Probably my favorite baseball memory there. But yeah, I'll go with the Braves. They have the best roster. They have had the best roster all year, and I think they get it done in 6 games. And I think Houston's still going to be the team to beat to come out of there. I wouldn't be surprised if Houston doesn't make it there, but I would be surprised if the Braves don't. So my picks there. Okay. Pro football. Touch up on that now. We haven't even touched up on that. We're running out of
No.
time here. Aaron Rodgers. Apparently, I saw an article right before I got on here about him not or trying to, he's attacking rehab and trying to make a comeback this season. I
Yep.
don't, yeah, I mean, if the Jets are in contention, I mean, we'll see maybe, but even then, if they're in contention, I mean, yeah, you plug in Rodgers if he can go, but you definitely don't rush that guy back.
No. No. How about Zach Wilson?
Yeah, that was going to be the next thing I said. Um, Chiefs Jets game, did tune into that. Of course, Taylor Swift was there, so you got the
Who?
predictable Taylor Swift camera pan
Yeah.
every time the Chiefs did something good.
Cutting off end zone celebration dances to watch Taylor Swift hug some rando in the box.
Yeah,
Pretty
or
entertaining.
yeah, and I just like that there was a group of celebrities up there with her, but it was the Taylor Swift show. Like I mean, you had Wolverine there, you had Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively. I mean, you had a crew there, and nobody even mentioned them. It's just Taylor Swift, right?
Did you see the meme during the game with Taylor talking to Brittany Mahomes saying, "Why does your husband keep throwing it to the wrong team?"
I did pretty good,
it's it's awesome. Pretty
pretty good.
sweet.
And
Yeah.
I know this is going to happen. I'm not going to act like I'm just overly uh, annoyed by this. So like I go into it knowing if Taylor Swift is at the game, the camera's going to go to her.
Yeah. And then on the first commercial break, we get the very first commercial of the first commercial break as an advertisement for her new movie coming out. And then the second commercial break, we get a live shot of Times Square with guess what? That commercial airing on the big billboard in Times Square. Like, I don't know, man. It's all weird, man.
Yeah, I'm sure that was
I don't know if I'm believing the true love. Might just be some big marketing scheme, but
or it's just a very business savvy person saying, "Hey, let's turn this into a business
could be,
opportunity." It could
could
very
be.
well. I don't put it past her to do that. You don't get to be the biggest star in the world by being an idiot or untalented. So I could definitely see that. Hey, let's do this one. We got eyes and ears, all over this game. I could see that. But yeah, Chiefs get it done. Uh, Patrick Mahomes is still him. Showed that at the end of the game.
Yeah.
What'd
Costing
you think?
me a anytime touchdown on that slide. Smart play, but man, if he could have just had a rushing touchdown at any point in that game, had a small wager on that just to make it fun. But I'm only at like $2, so it was 100% the correct play. You got to do that. Smart play.
Yes, it was. I would have taken that. I would have no way had the Jets. Within that covering the spread. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you said it right.
Okay. I was like, I'm not a gambler, so I know the terminology, but I haven't used it in a while. I was like, did I say that correct? All right. Yes, completely the correct play. Let's talk about Zach Wilson. Played well. I mean, played
Yeah,
well.
looked
He made
confident.
Yes, he made some throw. He made some throws. I was like, all right, that's a big boy throw right there.
Yep.
The one in the end zone where he's kind of hiding the ball after the fake handoff and then throwing it to, was it Azuma for
Yeah.
the tight end for the touchdown? He made good decisions. This is night and day. you can tell that Rogers has had a significant effect, just as far as learning from him, seeing how he does things. You can tell Rogers has worked with him as far as, hey, this is what you do in this situation. Yeah, Zach Wilson played well.
Yep.
I was impressed. I was impressed by his play, and yeah, I found myself rooting for the kid. You know, like I don't want to see him fail. I found myself rooting for the guy. Like I want to see him play well. I want to see the Jets have a chance. And but what's really stood out to me, not only his play, but what really stood out to me, and this is night and day compared to the Zach Wilson we saw last year. How did he handle the press conference and the questions? Like this game, he took, and it was not his fault. I mean, he had that fumble, or
Hmm.
he just dropped the snap, and yeah, it was a mistake. But Zach Wilson balled out before that, and but to take complete ownership like he did, say that's on me, and just talked about how his teammates played their tails off, and like he's got to do his part, and he didn't, and just shouldered all the blame, fell on the sword, did what any great leader would do. And not saying he's a great leader yet, but that's what any great leader would do. You know, fall on the sword, take the blame, shoulder the blame. And it made me think of last year when he was the reason they were losing games, and a reporter essentially brought that up, and he was I think he was more so just perturbed by the question, and just the reporter asking it, and he was just annoyed by it, so he was just answering it with emotion rather than critical thinking or just any amount of thinking, and just said no. Like it
Yep.
essentially wasn't the reason. Night and day difference, man. Looked like a handled the press conference like a vet. I was pleased with what I saw from him. I went into that game wondering almost like I guess I'll tune into this game just to see the Chiefs play. Like I was not excited about the game at all. Before the season, I would have been very excited about it if
Yeah.
Rodgers were playing, of course. But I was not excited about the game going into it. As the game continued, I was cooking, I think. I I would see the score and I'd be like, okay, this is all right. This is a game. And then I just found myself in there glued to the TV and watching Zach Wilson play. Very
Yeah.
pleased with what I saw from him. Hopefully, for the Jets' sake, more of this from him down the road. Does he continue with this?
Yes.
Yeah,
100% believe it.
and you can see his confidence growing. And I think the difference there is they've turned him loose. Like you're not going to get a guy comfortable, familiar with the offense by being a game manager. You have to turn him loose. You got to let him go. That's how you build their confidence. And Tim Hasselbeck mentioned that, and I was like, spot on. And that's what we've seen.
Yep.
So I'm with you. I think it continues. I hope it does. Hope it does anyway. But we're going to have to find out, and we'll talk more about it and other games next week. Till then, we're out of time. This is Graham Powell.
Brother Brown, 4-0 in fantasy.
Yeah,
What?
2-2 here. Deuces, y'all. Two in a row,
Peace.
though. Two in a row.
Hey, watch out now.